me, Bhuvanashri, from the DSE core team, and Nikhilesh and Avinash from the technical team. So let's get started. Okay. So before we move on to today's explanation, the theory that is going to be required for today's session, I'd request you all to go over to the collab link and actually run the entire notebook, because we have a pretty huge data set that we'll be dealing with today, and it does require a significant amount of time for downloading. And so depending upon your internet speed, it might take around 10 or 20 minutes. So head over to this website. The link will be posted in the chat section, and you can click on Run in Google Colab, and it should open the notebook for you. And over here, go on to Runtime and click on Run All. And it would start executing the cells, and probably it's going to take the most amount of time here, that is for downloading the data set. So we'll let that happen at the background, and we'll get on with the theory for today's session. And also, if you want to know if your entire notebook has completed its execution, if you're moving on to a different tab, so you can just click on the settings and you can tick this option, that is show desktop notifications for completed execution. So that way you'd know when the execution has completed. So I have already run the notebook and kept, so that it's easier for us to go through the notebook. So at the end of the downloads, you should see this. That is, there's been two separate downloads done from two separate links. So let that keep happening, and we'll move on to the theory in the meanwhile. All right. And I hope you have started, you've started running the cells in your notebook. So let's hop back here so that we can understand the theory behind today's session. Okay. So in today's session, we're going to look at three new concepts, again, building upon the previous sessions, but going a little bit more in deep. So we will be looking at something called as an attention-based ML problem, and that is, in order to generate the caption for your image, we will be focusing, or we will be looking at specific parts of an image, and that's how we'll be generating this caption. Now, for a human, describing an image is pretty much easy, and it's an instant process. We look at the image, and if we're familiar with the different things that we see in the image, we're able to describe it in words. But in order to understand, or in order to teach a machine how to do that, we need to break down this process that has taken a fraction of a second in our brain to understand, or to teach the machine the steps in order it has to take in order to generate your caption. So here we have the image of a surfer, and that's pretty much easy to detect. But let's see how we break it down. So we might first identify the man first, and then we might see that, okay, looks like he's on a surfing board. And where is the man on the surfing board? Well, we do see water, and there is a wave. So probably this is the ocean. And in order to understand how it is a wave, we might have looked at the relative coloring over here. So we have a white wave, and we have some still water, which is blue in color at the background. So we know that this is a wave, and the man is surfing on in the ocean. And that's how we do it. So we're focused on certain parts of the image, and that's how we're able to detect the relation between the different portions in our image. Or in other words, we placed our attention on certain parts of the image and finally generated the caption. Now our neural network is also going to do the exact same thing. It is going to take the image, and it is going to focus its attention on certain parts of the image and generate corresponding words to that specific part. Now, it is not that easy, right? We can just go on and detect these different parts of the image, maybe the surfing board, the man, the waves, the ocean. But we need to be able to generate a logical sequence of words that is going to make sense to someone who's reading it. And for that, we are going to require another solution called as the recurrent neural network. And I'll tell you how the different parts of our neural network architecture that we're going to be building today is going to ultimately lead us to this proper description of our image. Now, if you see here, the white colored boxes or the white colored set of pixels are indicative of the fact that the neural network is currently placing its attention on this part of the image. Now we can say that, okay, so these are the set of pixels that it has placed its attention on in order to predict the word person. And so on for the other words. So for detecting that it's an ocean, you can see that it has placed its attention on these parts of the image, which is quite obvious, right? So we'd be looking at this portion of the image for detecting whether it's an ocean or not. So that's what it has done here. But you might be wondering to yourself, what about these words such as is, a, and the? Well, that's where our recurrent neural comes into play. We can't necessarily conceive these words from the image directly, but the recurrent neural network is going to help us. How? I'll let you know. So our model for today is going to mainly consist of three parts. Okay. So the first part is a convolutional neural network. Now this convolutional neural network is again, it has its expertise in analyzing and breaking down images. So it is going to extract those features of the image that is most essential for us for predicting our output. So it is going to, after passing this image through the convolutional neural network, it is going to generate a vector with multiple numbers, or in other words, features that are going to, that are the most important parts in this image. And so that vector is what is going to be our input to the next part of our system. And the next part is we're going to combine the features with an attention model, which is what we had talked about here. So the attention model is going to place its focus or its lens on certain parts of the image and generate corresponding words or phrases from that image. And then finally, the RNN is what is going to help us put all these words in a logical sequence. The recurrent neural network is something that works on sequence of data. So in order for us to put together the words that the person, riding, and ocean, we need to have certain articles and pronouns in between in order to put them in a certain sequence. And that's where the RNN helps us. Okay, so this is the attention-based model, another example of what exactly it's doing here. Now let's look at this example. A dog is standing on a hardwood floor. Now this is what the model has predicted, and this is what it actually focused on. So you can see that it is focusing on the dog, and it is also focusing on the hardwood floor. But the output is not exactly what the dog is doing, right? The dog is not exactly standing on the hardwood floor, but it did detect what the dog is in the hardwood floor, and it did put it in a logical sentence that we're able to interpret. So it depends upon our the input to our model, how much of training data we're giving it, what are the different model parameters, and so on. And another example of this would be, say from this image, we have generated the caption, a bird flying over a body of water, which seems pretty logical and accurate. And you can see that the white highlight over here is what is used to predict that corresponding word. Now, the words that aren't exactly the main words, that is a, over, off. So these are words that has been interpreted with the help of a recurrent neural network, which works in sequence of data. Okay. Now I mentioned that we have three steps. I'll again go over the three steps for our architecture today. That is, first, extracting features from images using a convolutional neural network, and then combining the features with an attention model, and third, generate the captions with a recurrent neural network. Now for our first step, we're going to be using a pre-trained model. Like how we have studied in our previous sessions, a pre-trained model is basically a very extensive neural network architecture that has been trained using multiple examples and using very extensive hardware equipments, which our laptop is not comparable to. So this has been done in huge data centers where they've had the liberty to use huge machines with extensive computational power. So we can make use of this model that has been trained over multiple images in our network, and using just the final layer, that is the layer that is predicting our output of what exactly this image is belonging to, we can use it to extract the important features from our image. Now, to break down what is happening in this Inception model. So Inception v3 is the name of our pre-trained model. It is open source, so you can use it for any of your projects. You can see that the first few layers are detecting edges in your image, and maybe that is like the curve or maybe the smile, but the middle few layers are detecting the shapes. That is, it is putting together the edges and it's detecting shapes. And the higher levels are going to predict higher level features. That is, maybe it's putting together the different shapes together and it's predicting that, okay, this looks like an apple or this looks like a pizza. So that's what it does. And now at the end, after passing your image through your Inception model, we have a vector that is a vector of probabilities of what are the important features, or what are the features that is going to help us in predicting our output. Okay. Now, I did mention something that we will be using, I mentioned an RNN, or a recurrent neural network, in which the input to the data will be treated as a sequence. So what do we mean by that? Now, let's take an example, that is, we're trying to translate from a certain language. So it looks like this is Mandarin, and we're translating from Mandarin to English. Now, I think you would be able to relate it with your mother tongue. So if it's not English, then definitely you know that the placement of the words are not going to be the exact in another language. So probably the object will come first, then the subject, or maybe the placement of the pronouns and the verbs are going to be different when moving from one language to the other. So we can't just do linear movement through the entire sentence and just translate. So, okay, I'm looking at this, I'll translate it directly into English, and that's going to give me a logical sequence. No, that isn't going to work out. Rather, you should be looking at each word, keeping in mind what came previously. So when I look at this, I have no previous data, so I can directly generate an output. But then I look at this, the next word, but in order to make a prediction, I need to know what has come before. So this is what sequence prediction is. It takes into account not just the current input, that is maybe this one, but it also accounts for the previous inputs that has been fed into the model. And that's the encoding part. So the encoding is basically converting your input to a form that is representative of the important features, and that is again sent into our decoder, which one by one goes through those features and generates your different words, or the corresponding meaning in a logical sequence in the next language. So in our case, comparing it to our image captioning, our encoder is our ImageNet, or our Inception v3, that is converting your image into a feature vector. That is, the important features are represented in a vector, and that is decoded using your recurrent neural network. Okay, so before we move on to the notebook, I'd like to say that in today's session, it is going to be pretty advanced. When you look at the notebook, you're bound to get overwhelmed. But I'd say that treat today's introduction, you can take it as an introduction to this new concept and paradigm of thinking. And you can take, moving on from today's session, you can know that such a technique exists and you can use it in your applications. So let's say that as an example, let's say you're creating an app or a gadget to help the visually impaired. Now, in order for you to generate like a continuous stream of data describing their environment, well, this is exactly what you'd be using. You'd be using an image captioning, or if you have a video stream, you'll be breaking it down into images and try to understand what is the relative placement of each object in subsequent images. So treat today's, you can sit back today because we won't be going into the nitty-gritties of what exactly is happening in the model, but we will be giving you the big picture overview for you to move forward and dive deeper into this field. So yeah, so let's move on. I ask Avinash to continue from here. We will be starting with the explanation of the notebook.
Let's start with the code. So the first is a sample image that is being shown in this model. It's a man surfing. It was the same as in the slides. So as you can see, it is detecting a specific part in each graph, and then according to that, it is framing the sentence. All right. So our first block is importing modules. We'll be importing various modules for different computations. The difference between the module that are being used in the previous session and this one is that we'll be using one new model called sklearn. The scikit-learn, it is similar to TensorFlow. We'll be using two specific functions from this model. So as you can see, the first one we are importing train test split. So this function will be used for splitting the data set for training and testing. And the second function is the shuffle. It will be used for shuffling the data set for generating randomness. We'll be also using individual modules such as collection, random for generating random values, numpy, etc. Okay, so here's the part that you have been running, that you ran at the initial stage. We downloaded, I guess everyone has done that. So we have already downloaded a 13 GB file to the drive. So the first part contains annotations folder. In this are all the sentences or the annotations for the images, and the second folder, the train 2014, contains all the images. Okay, so here comes the optional part. We have time constraints, so we'll be using only 30,000 captions of the dataset, whereas it's just optional. If you want to obtain more accurate results, you can use complete dataset. Okay, in this block, as you can see, we'll be classifying all the images in and grouping them into different categories according to their annotations, the lines that it already has. And here we are in this block, we are shuffling the images and selecting the first 30,000 captions. So as you can see here, we have mentioned 6,000. This is because each image contains 5 captions. So if we take 6,000 first 6,000 images, it will be around 30,000 captions. So in this way, we are taking the 6,000 images and we are loading a sample data. As you can see, we have loaded a sample data of fruits and it has given an output of statement, a group of fruits and various vegetables, including pears, apples, orange, banana, and carrot. So it has detected even the carrots at the corner. Okay, so pre-processing the images using Inception v3. Inception v3 is a convolutional neural network for assisting in image analysis and object detection. It is widely used image recognition model that has been shown to attain greater than 78% accuracy on the ImageNet dataset. So as my friend Bhuvaneshwari explained about the model, this Inception v3 model contains several portions where in the initial stages it detects the basic patterns in the images such as the edges, and then moving from that it develops these patterns, and then it detects different objects shapes in the objects, and then after that, after developing from that, finally it decides on a decision, like is it this high level object like a fruit or a car or a bus accordingly. So here we'll be using the Inception v3 model for training. And one more point to note is that we won't be using the Inception v3 directly. Instead, we'll be tweaking with the last layer accordingly, whatever output we want. So here we are taking the image, decoding it, and then we are resizing it to a particular size, and then we are pre-processing it for training. Okay, so here we are calling the model, we are creating a model, image model, and this is the function for calling the Inception v3 model. And we are also creating a final layer for this. -1 indicates the final layer of the network, and after that we'll be extracting the features by calling this tf.keras.model function by inputting these parameters. Alright, so now I'll be passing on to my friend Nikhilesh for further description.
Yes, the important thing after downloading Inception 3 waits are caching the downloaded data. So that is we have to cache the memory, like cache the images in memory or in hard disk. Here we are trying to do it to the hard disk with this particular data, and by installing TQDM, and we can cache it to the system, but it requires 10 minutes on GPU. Beware of that. And the next topic is pre-process and tokenize the captions. As we have a lot of captions for storing all these different captions in memory will take a lot of space. So in order to make the program more efficient, we'll be taking the top 5,000 words from the word list, and we will be creating word to index and index to word mappings. Here you can see 5,000 words, and we can change this in order to increase the number of words in order to captioning. And this is the function tokenizer, which is using 5,000 words for captioning. And here we are saying this particular token, it is for when a particular caption is missing, then it uses the unknown function, unknown caption, in order to placeholder for remaining captions. Then we are using filters. So this particular string has multiple characters which are generally occurs in the word. So we use these filters in order to remove if any of these character exists in a particular word. So we are trying to pre-process like cleaning the captions. Then we are using a pad, so that is for padding. And here in this particular code we are using pad sequences, which means that the training all the captions in this new word list of 5,000 should have the same length of same length. So that is why we are using automated tool in order to uh, place spaces or some kind of padding between, like if the word is shorter than compared to the longest word in the captions. That is pre-process. And here, as you know, before I have we have to take always training set and validation set. Training for training the model, and validation for uh, checking if the model is getting overfit, and doing a real time real time raw data analysis. And here we are taking 80% of training set and 20% of validation set. And this block of code does that by splitting the data set randomly. Here you can see there are 24,000 images for training and 6,000 images for validation set, and you can see same number of captions also. And so these are the parameters for this complex architecture, where we are using batch size of 64 and buffer size of 1,000. And we are using, like, these particular variables will be having an impact on this, but these are not that important. But you can try changing batch size in order to get better efficiency. And later on we can see number of steps which tell total number of batches in a particular data set, like training or testing. Then we have feature space, features shape. It means that the output layer of the model. Here we can see 64 comma 2048. It means that 64 stacked up layers, and 2048 flattened layer. So the 64 is the feature number of features layer, and 2048 is the flattened layer of matrix. And later on we can see that we are trying to convert this all the images into .npy file format, which is used to compute faster. Like if you want to if you want to train a lot of data, like more than 50,000, 60,000, then storing it in the form of .npy and unpacking it whenever it is required will be better when we want to do ram when we want to use ram efficiently. And now let's look at the model. Before we get into the inner code, let's first look at the research paper. This particular model has been intensely researched by test and trial by researchers, and you can click on and you can click on this particular link here. This is a paper, and they have talked about inception architecture, like we have seen in the images how it's done. You get to see all the inner workings, the maths involved, and how it has, like, how it is evaluated and stuff. So the code and everything was created to replicate the particular model and try to add on few more layers for inception in order to make it more effective for our particular system. So these the first thing is Bah- Bahadanunu attention class, and that is for this particular class. And then the second class is for CNN encoder. As Bonushree mentioned earlier, we are using convolutional neural network encoder here. And then another class is RNN decoder, that is okay, the recurrent neural network decoder, and this is the entire code for it. And you can feel free to change by understanding the how they have come to a conclusion of fixating to these layers, and why we are using to these particular things. If you want more clarity regarding this, there are a lot of Google. There are a lot of examples from Google. You can get a lot of tutorials based on how decoders and coders work in applications. Here we are calling these classes and storing them in the variables encoder and decoder. So this is the entire model. And so this, as this is a large model, we need to constantly keep track of all the new models which are getting generated. So we are using this checkpoints method, where we'll be constantly keep saving the models in this dot checkpoints train. And yes, so this is how checkpoints work. And we can use these checkpoints if we want to train this particular model, continue training this model in another machine. So we can just share these files and start training from there with a few changes to the code. And now it's training time. So here, as I told earlier, we saved images in the .npy file. So we have to unpack them whenever it is required. So this is the code to unpack them, and take the batches, shuffle them, and send it to the encoder and decoder, which is given in this particular thing. Train step will generally take like, it is created in order to take certain amount of data and the captions, and try to make, like, try to do the forward pass and the backward pass of the entire data. Then whatever the loss and total loss you get, we are sharing it back by returning it. This loss and total loss is being recorded and storing in an array. For each 5 epochs, the all these checkpoints are being saved automatically by the function, and we are printing all the results here. As you can see, this particular model, I've kept a time of it took nearly 20 minutes to get executed. So it would take more time for you. And I have kept it like now trained. So nearly 20 epochs are there, and as you can see from before, the accuracy and the loss has been reduced. So here you can see the loss, which is started reducing from a lot. So and this is how we train. So now let's look at now let's okay. As you can see, the loss plot, which is showing a steady decrease with increase in epochs. We get to see more better model compared to this. And here with this particular thing, we can say that the model is not getting overfit, but it's learning a lot. So more number of epochs, more time it takes, and more data, more time. So try to do a lot of normalization techniques for this particular process to reduce the complexity time. Yes, and yes, this is the part of the training phase. Now let's look and evaluate the evaluate this model which is been created. And I'll hand over the session to Bonusree in order to better explain with few more examples on how to evaluate.
So far we've looked at the model training phase, but before we move on and we evaluate our model, let's better understand how our data set actually look like. So if you go to the top of your notebook, you can get the link to the MS Coco data set. And well, you could actually use this for many other applications of yours. And this is the official website. And if you go to dataset and explore, let's see how the different images are classified. So these are different labels which are being represented by these icons. So let's just randomly select images. So let's click on a person and say probably a tennis racket. So we have two labels, and if we click on search, we would be given the different images that contain these two labels. So as you can see, this image does have a person and a racket. So we have person and racket, and we have many such examples which involves a person and a racket. Now, as you can see, the image has been focused on certain parts of the model has focused on certain parts of the image, and ultimately, this is what we're feeding into our neural network. That is the image along with the different captions. So do check out this website, and yeah. Also, another resource that I'd like to introduce you to. This is a website, distal.pub, which is for visualizing what is happening in your neural network. Now, we did look at a considerable amount of code, and it's pretty difficult. Like, given the previous sessions, we have moved to a very higher level, and hence we haven't dwelled deep into what's actually happening, because sometimes the true essence of your neural network is lost when you go into the details of what is happening. But again, it's important that we have and we can interpret our model. So this website actually helps us do that. And okay, so let's take this example that where we're trying to differentiate between a cat and a dog, and let's see what our neural network is actually seeing. So if you scroll down, um, you can actually see the different layers. So these are representative of the layers, and the array is what the neural network is focusing on. So this is the actual image that it's focusing on. So you can see that there's the dog, then there's the cat. But as it moves through your neural network, different parts of the image are what are replicated and are kept, or that are retained in order for you to, in order for the model to generate the correct output. So here you can almost make out the original image, but as it passes through your neural network, its representation is changing. But the reason it's changing is because the neural network is trying to hold on to only those pieces of information that is important for it to make your output or make a prediction. So this is how, but this is not exactly representative of the weights as well. So you know that we do have a magnitude, or we have the activation function, which gives importance to these different parts of the image. And so you can see that in the initial layer, it's focusing on the output or the outline of the dog over here. And in subsequent layers, it is as the representation changes, it is still giving importance to certain parts of the dog. And as it moves on further, we see that the representation is changing, and so is the importance of each block, or you can say this the small image that is in the representation. So make sure to check out this website as well. Yeah. So let's look at how we can evaluate our model now. Okay. So, all right. So the evaluate function is pretty straightforward. Now we have made our Nikhilesh, as Nikhilesh explained, we've created these classes in order for us to very easily encode and decode our images. And that's exactly what we do here. We take our image as our input, and we are going to be returning the result, which is our entire caption, and our attention plot, that is those different images with those specific highlighted pixels or boxes, you could say. So this is the kind of output that we're trying to generate with the images with the corresponding word from the caption, as well as the highlighted parts of the image. And that's what it does. So first we have our encoder being called. After the initial pre-processing, we have our encoder being called, and for each of those, after encoding our image is we again we pass it through our decoder, and then once it is through the decoder, we ensure that we take our tokenizer with all our important words, and then we generate our um, corresponding caption, starting from the beginning as a sequence. Now it is generating as a sequence. As you can see, this is just a for loop. It is trying to generate the caption as a sequence, but we know that because it is moving through the neural network, the recurrent neural network is not just taking into consideration the current input, but also the previous input. And this is how the entire caption gets aggregated. And okay, now the plot attention is a very simple function. What it does is basically it takes the image, takes the corresponding attention graph or attention plot that we got, which is again a 2D array, multiple 2D arrays of the same image. And then the attention plot has those specific pixels highlighted to show which part of the image the neural network is placing its attention on. And along with that, we have the result that we have got for a specific caption. So in this case, you can see that the real caption and the predicted caption. So this is for from our validation or testing set. And so you can see that the image, the actual caption is a woman showing kids how to decorate cupcakes. But our predicted caption is kind of different. It says a bunch of children fixing a large tray of food. Um, well, you can see why there's there's actually a relation between these two sentences. So we do see that there's kids that's being represented as children in this sentence. Then we have cupcakes and we have food. We do not have the women being highlighted in the in our predicted caption. Well, this is due to multiple reasons. One being that we did mention that we are limiting the number of training examples in the captions per image because of the time constraint that we have in order for our notebook to finish its execution quite quick enough, but also at the same time giving us a pretty decent output that is similar or shows similarity to our actual caption that has to be generated. And also because we have created the model keeping in mind that the encoder and the decoder are it's a pre-trained model. So the encoder part, the Inception v3 is pre-trained on multiple images, and these images are not exactly we're not going to have multiple instances of the same image for it to correct itself and reinforce that this is the right caption or the wrong caption, and hence we have this discrepancy in our output. So what you all can do is after this session, you can go ahead and make sure that you do not cut out the training data set. You train on the entire available data set, and also to make sure that you can tweak other parameters as well, like Nikhilesh had mentioned. Now, the Inception v3 model you can't change, but you can change and you can use another pre-trained model in place of the Inception v3. But the other layers, that is the encoder and decoder, again have their own fixed way in which it is represented, because our encoder is a CNN, but you can go in and you can change the different layers in the convolutional neural network. We will be sharing after the event, we'll be sharing a doc in which we'll be giving all the resources for you to look into what exactly these different parameters are and how you can change them. So yeah, so let's try testing it on a custom image. So I've already done that. So what you can do here is you can take an image from your any image online, or you can, to have fun, you can even put your own image. Well, me and my other team members, we were actually playing around with the model because it was pretty fun to see how inaccurate it was in predicting the output, but it did a pretty good job in making sure that it did identify the different parts of the image. So yeah, so here I have run it on an image of a taxi, and here's the output I got: a car sitting in a door. Well, it did identify that there is a car and there exists a door, and not exactly, this is not exactly what's happening here, right? So if I were to run this again, I would get a different output. Okay, looks like um, my runtime just completed. Yeah, I'll have to start the entire thing again. Yeah. So yeah, you can try it with different.
Bruno,
Yeah.
yeah, it works. Can you remove from question mark to the other end? Can you keep the JPEG in the end, like from question mark to all? Can you remove that
Yeah.
part? Will work. No, remove the question mark also.
So yeah, it worked.
And the image URL should be minus 5.
Oh, it worked without
Okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a pretty different caption for this with some buildings. Well, if we again run it, it's going to give us a different caption. Well, okay, this is more accurate. We see that there is a car traveling inside a building. We see why there is a building in this case, because we do not have anything else in the background, and that's why it has predicted the same. So yeah, feel free to change this URL and try out with different images. But the main takeaway, as I said, is that you should be looking at how you can use this model, pack it all up, and probably use it for a specific application. And yeah, that is the end of the session today. We hope you enjoyed.
We'll be right back.